Way back in 1979, St. John Paul II made a visit to New York City. And I don't know if anybody here remembers that trip. I thought about it and I was 9 years old, and I don't think I was paying attention to those sorts of things back then. But during his visit to New York City, he gave a very powerful reflection on this parable. He asked, why was the rich man condemned? And this is what he says. He says, was the rich man condemned because he had riches? Because he abounded in earthly possessions? Because he dressed in purple and linen and feasted sumptuously every day? The future saint answered, no. The rich man was not condemned for his wealth. So listen carefully to what he says next. The rich man was condemned because he did not pay attention to the other man, because he failed to take notice of Lazarus, the person who sat at his door and who longed to eat the scraps from his table. Nowhere does Christ condemn the mere possession of earthly goods as such. Instead, he pronounces very harsh words against those who use their possessions in a selfish way without paying attention to the needs of others. Let's think about that. Those are insightful words. The rich man did not pay attention to the other man. He did not love Lazarus. God created the rich man and Lazarus in his own image and likeness. The rich man did not recognize Lazarus as made in the image and likeness of God. And these words are meant for us because Lazarus is at our doorstep. St. Teresa of Calcutta often said that the worst poverty was the poverty of love. It's what gives rise to every problem we face in ourselves and in our families and in our culture and in the world. And her missionaries of charity seek to give to the poor what they need most: love. Love is expressed through action, the actions of the works of mercy. The works of mercy are how we love Lazarus at our doorstep. And that worst poverty, the poverty of love, exists right here in our own rich country and even within our families. And Mother Teresa used to say that she found the worst poverty actually in the first world. And so given all the great poverty of love around us, how do we begin? We begin first by paying attention to those around us, recognizing them for the gift that they are, made in the image and likeness of God. To recognize the other as a gift, to be received as a gift, and that we ourselves make a gift of ourselves for that person. And this is what it means to be human. This is something we've been working on in our elective class in the Path of Wisdom, is that philosophy class that I teach to our school kids. And in the very first class, if you want to do philosophy, if you want to think about the big questions, the first thing we have to do is that we have to engage with reality. And this is something that has been lost in recent decades. The reality that we experience through our senses. A reality that is to be received and not simply stuffed to manipulate for my own selfish ends. And one of the homework assignment I gave them on the first day was make eye contact. If someone is speaking to you, look at their eyes. If you're speaking to somebody, Look at their eyes. Look up from your device. Because as you know, the eyes are the windows of the soul. And if I'm going to recognize another human being is made in the image and likeness of God, I need to encounter their soul. That gets expressed through the eyes. This is what it means to have an encounter of persons, and to create a culture of encounter. And this is why we suffer so many problems in our world, is because we are not encountering each other. We are not recognizing the other as a gift, and even ourselves. And so eye contact is the recognition of the other, the respect given to the other, the affirmation that you exist and you are good, made in the image and likeness of God. And that could be a homeless person on the corner, that could be our spouse, that could be a friend, that could be somebody we meet in the supermarket, it could be our brother or sister. And this is the first step in loving someone, the recognition of who they are. And it's from this recognition that we express our love in the works of mercy. And what are the works of mercy? Well, there's two categories of them because there are two dimensions to the human person: body and soul. And so there are works that help to love and cherish and respect the body, and there's works that love and cherish and respect the soul. And you'll find this division on our website, because a lot of our apostolates, that's how we categorize them. Of our various outreaches, are they corporal works of mercy or spiritual works of mercy? And the works of mercy for the body are called the corporal works of mercy, and you can hear that Latin root in there, right? Corpus, body. The works of mercy for the soul are called the spiritual works of mercy. And you may remember what they are. And if you don't remember, if you want to learn and get a little more explanation, go to the catechism. It's all listed out right there. So the corporal works of mercy are 7. Perfect number. To feed the hungry, to give drink to the thirsty, to clothe the naked, to visit the imprisoned, to shelter the homeless, to visit the sick, and to bury the dead. And the spiritual works of mercy are also 7. To admonish the sinner, to instruct the ignorant, to counsel the doubtful, to comfort the sorrowful, to bear wrongs patiently, to forgive all injuries, to pray for the living and the dead. 7 works of mercy for the body, 7 works of mercy for the soul. 14 ways of loving. Because it is an act of love to go and visit someone who is sick or imprisoned and feeling isolated and lonely, that their life doesn't mean anything. It's an act of love to share with someone gently and clearly that a particular sin is damaging or even destroying their soul. It's an act of love to counsel the doubtful and to instruct the ignorant, of those who don't know. Right? So many people in our world today have badly formed consciences. Why? Because they've allowed their consciences to be formed by digital media, by selfishness, by lust, by Marxism and nihilism and materialism, rather than the natural law and the Bible. And this is why so many people have a difficult time distinguishing what is good and what is evil. And so we Christians have a sacred duty in that, not only for ourselves, but for the other, And this is of special importance to parents, right? One of the great privileges that fathers and mothers have in the forming of the conscience of their children, and to do it according to the truth. Because consciences will be formed, either well or poorly, but they will be formed. It is an act of love to comfort those who sorrow, by comforting those who have recently lost a loved one just by being there, by checking in on them, by helping to organize some meals for them. The rich man deliberately refused to perform the corporal works of mercy to Lazarus. And what happened to him? It brought him to eternal damnation. Mother Teresa spent her life engaged in the works of mercy, and what happened? She became a great saint. And in this provocative and even disturbing parable, Jesus teaches us that what we do in this life matters. How we live our lives now, it matters eternally. At the end of this life is judgment. And you notice how the Lord says mentions that there's an unbridgeable abyss between the rich man and Lazarus. What we hear from his own mouth is that heaven and hell truly exist. And it is through the works of mercy that we avoid the destiny of the rich man and truly prepare ourselves for the awesome and intense life of heaven. The works of mercy that's done through the power of divine grace in us are a saving antidote to damnation and the proper training for heaven. And so, as St. John Paul II reminded us, the important thing, it begins with paying attention to the other man. Whoever that person is next to us. He or she is like you and me. He needs love. That is, he needs the Lord. Lazarus is at our doorstep. And the materially and spiritually poor around us need our corporal and spiritual works of mercy. And we need them ourselves, right? Because we too are poor. And we need that mercy too. And this is how we love one another. This is how we are in true solidarity with one another and the Lord. And so let's begin with the eyes, to pay attention. Pay attention to the other man, so that one day he will welcome us into heaven, along with Abraham and all the saints.